Hi, I'm Robi, also known as ambroscrochet somewhere on the internet, and today I wanted to give myself a little bit of a challenge and hopefully give you a pattern that you can follow, a tutorial that you can follow, so that you can make some gifts if you'd like, since the holiday season is coming up. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to use just one skein of yarn. So this is 50 grams and 60 meters, or 1.75 ounces and 137 yards, and it's chenille to be exact. I wanted to use just one skein of yarn, just a little bit of stuffing, 4.5 millimeters crochet hook, 2 safety eyes. I have 10 millimeter safety eyes, and I also have a plastic nose. But as usual, these are all things that you can substitute with maybe just a little circle made with black yarn. So, you know, magic rings, 6 single crochets, and you're good to go. And then just some pins and a tapestry needle, or again, you can use just a regular needle and some thread. So what I want to do is I want to make a little bunny, a very cute one, and I want to use just one skein of yarn. So if you only have a little bit of yarn, you can still make something very cute out of it. Now I actually have a little bit of an idea of the pattern that I'm going to be using, because I'm going to try and resize a pattern that I used with some cotton and a 4 millimeters crochet hook. But I have to resize it because obviously I'm going to be using a different yarn and also a bigger crochet hook. But as far as I can tell, here are the stitches we will be working with. Magic ring, technically not a stitch, but we will need it. Single crochet increase, and a single crochet decrease. There we go, I zoomed you in just a little bit, and you can still get a little bit of a candle because I thought it would, you know, give a little bit of ambience. Hopefully I won't burn my yarn on it, but well, we shall see. Okay, so as usual, we are going to start with the magic ring, and we are going to make 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and once round 1 is done, we can move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 increase in each stitch, so 6 increases in total. So at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets. Okay, and once round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 4, we will still have 18 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 5 is done, we can move on to rounds 6 to 8. So the next 3 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 6, 7 and 8, we will still have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 8 is done, we can move on to round 9, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 9 is done, you want to place the safety eyes if you're using them. I placed mine between rounds 6 and 7, 4.5 stitches apart, something like that. And then we can move on to round 10, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 12 all the rounds to get stuck. Okay, so at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 10 is done, we can stuff the head and then move to the final round, which is going to be round 11, which is just going to be 6 decreases. So at the end we're going to have 6 single crochets. As usual, I'm going to be doing that off camera because it's easier. So just 6 decreases. Okay, so once the 6 decreases are done, I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then I'm just going to cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail, but this time I have to be a little bit mindful of how much of a tail I leave because I'm trying not to use too much yarn. So okay, something like that. Okay, so here is the head done, and now we move on to the ears. I think yes, the ears. Okay, so now let's make the ears. Obviously we have to make 2 of these, and we are going to start with a magic ring as per usual, and then we are going to make 4 single crochets into the magic ring. And once those are done, we move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we're going to have 6 single crochets. It might be a little bit uncomfortable to work with it, like a little bit tight, but that's okay, it's pretty normal. I can make it. And you might have to push the first round through, that's okay, it's normal. And then we move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, this time repeated 3 times. So at the end we're going to have 9 single crochets. Okay, and once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 9 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 5 is done, we can move on to rounds 6 and 7, which are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 6 and at the end of round 7, we will still have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 7 done, we can move on to round 8, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we're going to have 14 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 8 done, we can move on to rounds 9 and 10. So the next 2 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 9 and at the end of round 10, we will still have 14 single crochets, okay, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 10 done, we can move on to round 11, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated twice. So at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 11 done, we can move on to round 12, which is just going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease repeated 4 times. So at the end we're going to have 8 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 12 done, we want to single crochet the two edges together. So what that means is you want to take your ear and flatten it so that the edges are close to each other, and you want to make sure that your last stitch, the last stitch that you've made, is right on the side, and then you want to single crochet the 2 edges together. So what you do, I usually skip the first pair of single crochets because it looks a little bit awkward. I skip the last single crochet that I've made, and I skip the one before that. Okay, so we go to the next single crochet. So basically the single crochet that you would normally just work in if you were to keep working in rounds. So you insert your crochet hook there, and then you also insert your crochet hook in the corresponding single crochet on the other side, which is not the last single crochet you've made, it's not even the one before that, it's the one even before that. Okay, so I think it would be called like the third to last single crochet if I'm not mistaken. So you just insert your crochet hook in both single crochets, and then you just yarn over and make a regular single crochet. Okay, and you do the same for the other 2 pairs of single crochets, so you get technically 3 single crochets plus that first pair that you didn't single crochet. If you didn't, maybe you like doing that. So you get 3 or 4 single crochets or 5 single crochets depending on how you did it, and then we can just cut. Again, I'm trying to be mindful of how much of a tail I leave. And this is the ear done, and remember we have to make 2 of these. Okay, so now we can move on to the muzzle, which is going to start with a magic ring as usual. And then we are going to be making 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and once that is done, we can move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeated 3 times, so at the end we're going to have 9 single crochets. Okay, and then we are just going to slip stitch and cut the yarn, leaving just a little bit of a tail. No. The head just rolled on its own. And then we are going to place the nose, if you're using again a safety nose obviously, or a plastic nose. Obviously if you aren't, you don't need to do this, but I'm going to place it right in the magic ring, and obviously I'm going to secure it off camera. So this is the muzzle done. Okay, next we are going to work on the body. So as usual, we are going to start with a magic ring. And the first round is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. And once that is done, we move on to round 2, which is just going to be 1 increase in each stitch for a total of 6 increases. So at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is just going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 4 is done, we can move on to rounds 5, 6 and 7, because the next 3 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 5, 6 and 7 we will still have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and once round 7 is done, we can move on to round 8, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 8 is done, we can move on to rounds 9 and 10, because the next 2 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 9 and at the end of round 10 we will still have 18 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 10 done, we can move on to round 11, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 11 done, you want to start stuffing the body, because then we move to the next and final round, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 12 we will still have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so with that last round done, I'm just going to slip stitch and then cut off the yarn, leaving as usual just a little bit of a tail. Okay, and we have the body done as well. Okay, so now we are going to work on the arms. So you have to make 2 of these, and we are going to start with a magic ring, and then we are going to make 6 single crochets into the magic ring as our first round. Okay, and once the first round is done, we are going to be working on rounds 2 to 6. So the next 5 rounds are going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 we will still have 6 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once that is done, we are just going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving again a little bit of a tail. Okay, so here is the arm done, and remember we have to make 2 of these. Okay, now next and last step, we are going to be working on the back paw, I suppose. So we are going to start as usual with a magic ring. And then round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. And once that is done, we move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we're going to have 9 single crochets. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated again 3 times. So at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we move on to rounds 4 to 7. So the next 4 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 4, 5, 6 and 7, we will still have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once you're done with round 7, before you move on to the last round, which is going to be round 8, you want to stuff the paw just a little bit, and then we move on to round 8, which is just going to be 6 decreases. So at the end we're going to have 6 single crochets. I'll try to do this on camera just to spice things up a little bit, but it's difficult, especially with this yarn, I have to say. Okay, so that is done. We are going to slip stitch and then, as usual, cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail. So that is the paw done, and once again we have to make 2 of these. Okay, so now we move on to the assembling. Now I'm going to show you something that is very much optional, and you can choose whether you want to do it or not, but I'm just going to show you just in case. So what I really like doing, especially with bunnies and animals like this, I like to push the eyes a little bit inward, like so. I think it makes them look cuter. So the way that I do that is I'm going to use the tail that I left for the head, but you can use the tail from the ears, from the muzzle. It's fine, whatever tail is more convenient for you. And what you want to do is you want to have the tail come out. Basically, I know it's a circle and it doesn't have an angle, but if it did have angles, it would come out at the lower inner angle of the eye. Okay, so what you do next is you want to insert your needle right at that in that stitch, basically in the stitch that is at the inner lower angle of your eye. Okay, so you insert your stitch and you have it come out, you insert your needle and you have it come out on the same exact stitch but on the other eye, so like so. And you will see that even now, if you pull just a little bit, the eye will start to move inwards. Okay, and you want to do the same on the other side. So insert your needle, obviously not in the same spot, but like above, so covering the whole round over the whole stitch. And I'm going to do it like here as well, so not just here but also on the, again incorrectly, upper corner. So have the needle come out here and you pull just a little bit, you don't need to pull a lot, and you do the same here. So insert the needle here, covering the whole round or stitch, have it come out the other side, pull just a little bit, and then do the same. Okay, it's easier done than said, but I think it looks a lot cuter like this. So if you want to do it, that's just an optional step. And now back to the regular assembling. Sorry, that's my dishwasher. Okay, so next we are going to be sewing the muzzle, and the muzzle should go kind of like on the middle of round 6, right in between the eyes, and I placed it not right at the beginning of round 6 but a little bit below, so not really the middle if we want to be exact, but you know, kind of the middle of round 6. And obviously, as usual, you know, if you don't like it, if you want to adjust it, please feel free to. And obviously just make sure if you're using a plastic nose that it's oriented in the right way. Okay, so I'll see you when the muzzle is also sewn to the head. Okay, so next we are going to sew the ears, and before we sew them I wanted to show you something. So what you want to do with the ears is you want to fold them in half, like so. Okay, and you want to sew the last round that we worked on. Now you can either sew this before you sew the ears to the head, or you can sew it as you're sewing the ears to the head, if that makes sense. I usually prefer to do it while I'm sewing the ears to the head, but you can do it whenever you'd like. I'm just going to show you, it's very easy. We just had 4 stitches, if you remember, in the last round, so it's just a couple of stitches, and you just sew it so that the ears is now folded. I don't know if that's correct. Anyway, we are now going to attach the ears to the head. Now, as usual, explaining how to attach the ears is a little bit difficult, because the only instructions that I can give you is the ears should go between rounds 2 and 3 of the head. And as you can see, I've placed the pins where the ears will be. And the only thing I can tell you is if you count on round 2, the front of the ears are going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches apart. Okay, but how you place the ears is kind of up to you, because obviously I could move the pins any direction and it still would respect the 4 stitches difference, but the ears wouldn't be really symmetrical, wouldn't make sense with the positioning of the eyes and the muzzle and so on. So what you can do is you can just adjust as you go. Basically, you just place the ears and see what it looks like, and then if it looks good to you, if it looks symmetrical, you can sew them. So it's going to be something like this. Okay, but you kind of have to go with a little bit of a trial and error. Okay, so I'm going to sew the ears and then I'll be back. Sorry, a couple of things I forgot to mention about the ears. So first of all, if you want the ears to be a little bit more folded, so you can see here they kind of stay like this. If you want it to be even more folded, you obviously can sew like a couple of stitches here, for example, like so. Okay, and then because the ear is quite big, you might want to also sew a couple of rounds on the side of the ear to the head itself. So basically you start, let's say you start from here and you go back to where you sewed the base of the ear, and you just make a couple more stitches so that the ear will stay a little bit more upright. Okay, so those are my tips for the ears. Okay, the ears are on. We have a little bit of a Dumbo situation right here. The bunny could probably fly with these ears, but I like it that way. So next we move on to the body. Okay, so when it comes to sewing the paws, again, it's kind of easier to show you, but I'm going to try and explain. So basically, you want to sew the paws on rounds 4 to 6 of the body. But you don't have to sew the whole paw, or at least the way that I like to do it. As usual, these are just ideas. You can change them, obviously. But what I like to do is I like to only sew rounds 3, 4, and 5, and a little bit of round 6, and just this area right here. Okay, so kind of like half the paw, because I like for there, you can see it there. Just a little bit of the paw to be attached to the body, and then I like for it to be a little bit detached from the body, so that it looks like this from kind of like a front view. And then you want to place them about 4 stitches apart, so something like this. And I like to angle them, so it kind of starts with 2 and then 3 and then 4 stitches apart, because I kind of like for it to look like this. But again, obviously your choice, you can do whatever you want, but this is what I like to do. So I'll see you when these are sewn to the body. Okay, so now that the paws are sewn to the body, we can move to the arms. Now the arms should go on rounds 9, 10, and a little bit of round 11 of the body, and you want to place them so that basically we can use our usual tricks. You can either look at the arms from still haven't looked up how to say this word, from the top, you know, from this type of view, and check if the arms are symmetrical, or you can trace an imaginary line from the end of the arm to the paw and check that it's about 2 stitches apart. So you can do the same on the other side and kind of check for the same, something like that. So basically, if you want to check that the arms are as symmetrical as they can be. And yeah, I'm going to sew the arms to the body. And also one more thing, I'm not just going to sew the end of the arms, I'm also going to sew a little bit of this side right here, because I don't want the arms to open, okay? I want them to stay a little bit closed, maybe something like that. So I'm going to sew basically up until here. Okay, so maybe if you wanted to, the bunny could also hold something. You could give him a little heart or something like that. So I'll see you when that is done. Okay, so for the final step, I know it's a little bit upsetting seeing the bunny like this, I know, I'm sorry. For the final step, we can either sew the head straight on the body, so like so, basically placing the body in the middle of the head, if you will. Or you can, if you want, which is what I'm going to do, you can tilt the head towards yourself, basically, by sliding the head a little bit backwards. So you can either do this, or you can do this, which is going to make the bunny look a little bit like curled up on itself, if that makes sense. You can't really see it from this angle, but you can choose which one you want to do, and I think I'm going to do this one. Okay, so I'll see you once that is done. Okay, and now we have our little bunny done. Look how cute it looks. I've turned down the light a little bit, first of all because I don't know how to use it, and second of all because I don't know, it looks cuter in natural lighting, obviously, because I don't know how to use artificial lighting, so there you go. Okay, so the bunny is done. I think he looks absolutely adorable, and we didn't even use a whole 50 grams, so mission accomplished. You have a really cute gift if you want to gift it to someone, if you want to keep it for yourself, if you want to use it as a stocking stuffer, anything that you want. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. I should have a few more up during the month, but don't take my word for it because I don't know, because I'm obviously filming these a little bit in advance, so I don't know what's going to happen. But if you want to subscribe, if you want to find out if I will have more tutorials, you can subscribe. I appreciate that a lot. I know people have been subscribing, which again is kind of surprising to me, but I appreciate it so much. And if you want to like the video, if you want to leave a comment, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or you can find me on my social media, which is probably somewhere on the screen right now. Maybe I'm doing something on Instagram because of December, but I'm not sure. Again, I don't know what will happen because everything has been a little bit of a mess, so I don't know, but you can go and find out and let me know from the future. And what else? If you have any requests for any tutorials that you'd like to see from me, you can leave them in the comments down below. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you for the next one.